Well, hi, Barbara, and hi, everybody. So excited to be here. Um, let's just get right into it. We've got limited time here. So, Barbara, can you tell us how did you come about being a wealth advisor who specializes in same-sex couples?
Sure. If we turn back the clock to 1994 when I joined financial services and eventually became a wealth advisor, the sort of the same-sex couple area of specialization, I really didn't fine tune until the last couple of years. The way that clients and investors, consumers, buyers, today it's all about choice. It's all about experience. Folks want to work with someone or engage with someone who not only has experience, but can appreciate their situations. And so, through my blogs, which are on our company website, regionatlantic.com, our network, and my overall involvement in the community, I put my experience out there for members of the community who wish to work with someone who has walked in their shoes, who has a level of appreciation around estate planning, for example. So I essentially went out into the community, went out into my practice, talked to my network and said, look, I am also a member of the LGBTQ community, and I want you to know that I'm here as a choice for you if you wish to work with someone who can identify with the challenges that you face as a member of the community as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. My experience definitely aligns with that folks are looking for somebody who already can understand things about their identity in life when they're choosing which professional to hire.
Absolutely.
So, do you have maybe some suggestions, maybe three suggestions of what LGBTQ couples should focus on as it relates to their financial health?
In the fall of 2019, I wrote a blog called Financial Conversations LGBTQ Couples Need to Have. And frankly, River, you know better than anybody, these conversations are not unique to our community. Having real, candid conversations about wealth is vital to the long-term financial health of any couple or family. So I've identified three pieces to discuss with you today, but I'm happy to elaborate and expand as we go to Q&A later. Number one, we've got to get money in a pocket, right? We've got to get money in an account, whether it's a bank account, whether it's an investment account, a brokerage account, what have you. How do we get that money there? How do we start to build wealth? And so my first recommendation would be is to talk to your partner, significant other, husband, wife, and say, look, how do we feel, number one, about saving and spending, right? What are the sorts of disciplines that you have, that I have, so that we can talk about creating a budget, right? So a budget seems so basic to folks, but it's so necessary. That budget will allow you to say, I can hive off, 5% of my salary, 10% of my salary every year, put it away in an account and give it an opportunity to grow and be protected. And so creating a budget, a long-term plan, and not to mention, River, not just present day, but how about retirement, right? Because at some point, the paychecks will stop. And so what do you do at that point? Number two, and I don't know how many advisors talk about this right away, but financial history disclosure. It's very important. Your credit score, your debt level, your responsibility for other family members, right? You're dating or seeing someone, or you partner with someone for a long time, then all of a sudden, Aunt Joan needs to be supported and she's relying on you. And so, what is that responsibility? What could that potentially look like? These are surprises that your partner does not want to have. So give him or her the time to digest what's happening, right? To plot out how these scenarios might play out and how you can support each other, not only financially, but emotionally. And last but not least, and River, you and I could go down this road for the next, 2 weeks, investment styles and risk tolerances. Last but not least, which one of you is more of a high octane investor, and who prefers steady growth? Who's going to check the portfolio every day? Who's the one that's going to say investing in portfolio management is a marathon and not a sprint? I like to call volatility the seasickness factor, right? Who has the stomach for the ups? Who has the stomachs for the downs? And how can we work together to build a portfolio that's more of a Goldilocks formula, right? So not too hot, not too cold, but just right for the both of you. So those are three things, off the top of my head that, I put together to, discuss with you. But again, there are so many facets of wealth management that we can go down any of those roads if anyone so desires.
Yeah, I am really excited to get to the part where we can take some audience questions. So see what everybody wants to hear about the most. But before we do that, I have a couple more for you.
Sure.
Speaking of investing, how have you seen the pandemic affect investing?
Yes, as the younger folks would say, big time. Um, COVID, even present day, we're in this a year plus, River. It's been a game changer for people in so many ways. Folks reflected on their mortality. Now that people are working from home, they have a different level of time. And through COVID, they thought to themselves, gosh, anything can happen. Just look around. And frankly, they started to engage professional advisors. There's just too much noise out there. And folks have trouble navigating it all. I was reading in preparation for our discussion today, River, there was an article in Bloomberg at the end of April that talks about people saying life is too short. If I have enough assets for retirement, let's go for it. Some folks might not wish to return to the rat race. Now the trick is, as you and I both know, what's the number you need, right? What's sort of that pile of wealth that you need to sustain yourself in retirement? There are a lot of components to that equation. Social Security, required minimum distributions from your retirement accounts. In other words, how does your portfolio become your paycheck? And a wealth advisor can help you with that. COVID has brought out also a lot of interesting conversations. One of our new clients said, I want to make this year different. And the bottom line is people want to plan. They want to have confidence and clarity around their financial future. What does that look like? And what do they have to do to be successful in retirement and beyond? So I think, to bottom line it, River, I think a lot of folks changed their position, decided that enough is enough. They wanted to be a little bit more proactive with regard to their finances because, again, we never know what's going to happen day to day, particularly in a pandemic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Barbara, what are some mental obstacles that people might have when it comes to deciding whether to work with a financial advisor or actually initiating that relationship?
Sure. And I will say that everyone has their own catalyst, River. I think about, financial fitness and I think about physical fitness. When I talk about physical fitness, my catalyst has been Matty Maggiacomo from Peloton. He's the guy who's gotten me out of bed every day to work on my physical fitness. So I'm hoping our conversation gets people to start on their own financial fitness. So, some of those obstacles, I would say, again, I tried to jot down a couple of interesting notes, is that you can't overlook mindset. I've waited too long. It's too late. I've been with my advisor forever. I'm not happy, but it's just too much work to make a change. I don't even know where to begin. It feels like so much work. I've had 6 jobs with different organizations over my lifetime. I have 6 401k plans. It seems like it's a year's worth of work just to get organized. I work with my father's advisor. He wouldn't be happy if I made a change. People come up with a lot of reasons as to why they can't do something. But at the end of the day, it's their wealth and they should be happy with the relationship that they have. And so those mental obstacles, all mindset, all behavioral psychology, and this too, River, more now than ever, advisors must be prepared to recognize that behavioral psychology plays an enormous role in financial decisions. That psychology is based on one's experiences, what investors have been taught, how their mom or dad did it, what they see on TV, their decisions during the crisis of '08, '09. It's a lot to grapple with. And so my team would suggest that you talk with someone, start a conversation, and create a path forward for you and your family. It's picking up the phone or sending an email. That's the best favor that you can do for yourself.
Yeah, a lot of that definitely checks out with my experiences. I find that folks are just so afraid to make a change or are afraid to pay for help with money. But that's the biggest investment you could make in yourself is
Absolutely.
actually investing in your own financial well-being for the long term.
Agree.
So what has your experience been as a female wealth advisor in this historically male-dominated field? You've been around much longer than I have, so enlighten me.
Thank you for highlighting our age difference, River. Uh,
You have the experience.
the industry's changed, over the last 26 years. As a female financial advisor, I love being in this business. There are so many challenges for us, and I hope that I've been, sort of part of the trailblazing effort for female financial advisors in the business. But I got to tell you, there's so much more wood to chop. I find it so interesting because folks who are challenged by working with women, I always say to myself, it's probably not about me, it's more about them, right? And so more of an emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, if you will. And so one of the things that you and I talked about, River, in preparation for today was the fact that of all of the advisors in the US, according to Barron's last year, only 15 to 20% of financial advisors are female. That is just way too low. We need women out there. We need women in finance. We need female financial advisors. We bring something different. I didn't say better, I said different to the table. We think about things differently. We prepare things differently. And like I said in my initial comments, people want to work with someone who has the experience and the competency, but can have an appreciation and an understanding of what it's like to be a female client. So I've been very blessed with the folks that I've had the opportunity to work with. And so I love what I do every day. I love helping my clients, but we definitely have a lot more work to do as it relates to females in wealth management.
Yeah, definitely. When I started in the industry, I identified as a woman and experienced some of that and definitely noticed the lack of us out there. And since coming out as transgender and non-binary, I can count on one hand the number of transgender advisors that I know. So definitely a lot more work to do. So this is the last question I have for you. And then I want to open it up to audience questions. What advice would you give to budding financial advisors?
I would suggest that folks who are looking to enter this part of the financial services industry, that you figure out why you want to do it. Wealth management is very much about financial planning and portfolio management, no doubt. But you, in fact, are creating lifetime relationships with your clients, lifetime relationships with their children and their children, whether it's you as an advisor or your firm that sort of goes through multi-generation, financial planning. So wealth management is very dimensional. We are talking about their wants, their needs, their wishes as it relates to their wealth. And it's very, very much more than looking at black and white numbers and predictions and financial planning. It's really relationship management. So if one is out there and they are considering becoming a wealth advisor, I would simply encourage you to think about why you enter the industry. It's a fantastic industry. I get excited every morning to help people, but be clear about what you're looking for. It can't just be about compensation or a paycheck. This really is helping people with their wealth, making good decisions around their wealth, strategizing around their wealth. And that's something that requires a lot of responsibility. And it's a great honor when people choose to work with you. So I would encourage people to determine what's the reason why they're entering this part of the business.
I love that. I love that. All right, power to fly, folks. Do we have some questions from audience members that we can answer?
No questions in the chat yet, but I will re-ping everybody. So if anybody does have a question, please feel free to add those into the chat box.
Okay. While we're waiting for questions, I can think of some more. So Barbara, we talked a little bit about how your advice for LGBTQ folks isn't necessarily different than your advice for the general population. When you start working with folks who come from different backgrounds or different demographics, is there anything that you do differently in getting to know those new clients?
Do a lot of listening. A lot of it, and again, it's like any relationship, River. You would like to get to know folks as best you can. The better you know the people that you could possibly be working with, the more information that you have about them, again, their wants, their needs, and their wishes, the better you are as an advisor. When we stop listening, we stop learning, and that's when we can't possibly do a good job as wealth advisors. So again, as my high school softball coach, big ears, he used to use, we always have to be listening. We always have to be looking for things that, might not sound important at first, but can be very meaningful to people. So again, gotta keep listening, keep asking questions.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've had folks ask me like how to be more inclusive of transgender folks and people outside the gender binary. And my advice is usually to not make any assumptions, to just ask. So right in line there.
Absolutely.
All right, I see a question coming in from Kevin Kane. Are there any types of problems you find yourself needing to overcome that you wouldn't typically expect anyone else to encounter as a result of the subject that you've associated yourself with? So because we are LGBTQ specific advisors, do we have to overcome any problems due to that? So you've had part of your career before you focused on LGBTQ, and now you are focused on LGBTQ. Have you encountered any problems since making that shift?
Knocking any piece of wood I can find. Not yet, but it's a great question because you never know, Kevin, how folks are going to react, whether it's how they feel about the community, whether it's political inclinations, a host of different things. But I would tell you again, in the 26 years that I've been in this industry, I've found that, by and large, people are incredibly respectful, and there is a level of professional courtesy in wealth management that, again, River and I are part of that community that we're very, very grateful for. And over the course of our lifetimes, we both intend to perpetuate. So again, knocking wood, people have been pretty respectful thus far.
Glad to hear it. And on my end, I would say, like, as I'm out and about in the world, there's definitely the level of transphobia and homophobia that I may encounter here and there. Grateful that it is less and less each year. But I wouldn't say that I've encountered any problems because I am advising LGBTQ folks. I would say that I encounter just some transphobia or just general ignorance from the general population just by being myself on the internet. Okay, we have another question from Veronica Cooper. How do you approach the vast disparities in financial situations between different clients?
thanks for the question, Veronica. To me, though needs and objectives are different, a client is a client. They all get the same level of service and attention that they require. So whether you have, $1 million with me or you have $10 million with me, you are a client, and that is consistent throughout my practice. Everyone gets the level of attention that they need.
Yeah, same here, Barbara. And I'm working with younger folks with less wealth. So there's still a large disparity in incomes and net wealth among my clients, but everybody gets the same level of attention, the same amount of my time. It's just being open-minded, not making assumptions, and working with the individual clients on their individual needs. Yeah. I had something else I was going to say and I lost it. Such is life.
It'll come back.
Well,
I for one, River, I am so pleased that you have taken on the role that you have in financial services. Your segment of the LGBTQ community is one that requires much more attention, much more care, much more understanding. So I, for one, I'm so pleased to know that you're out in the community and representing that part of the LGBTQ community. So my hat is off to you.
thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Well, as we wrap up, do you want to tell folks where to find you?
Sure. So I actually currently have my house in Asbury Park. If people have ever visited Asbury Park, it's one of the greatest places on earth. But I split my time between here and South Orange. I am New Jersey. I am a wealth advisor with an organization called Region Atlantic. We are a registered investment advisor, as we know in the business, an RIA. We are an independent financial planning organization, and we basically help families understand what's possible around their wealth as it relates to their wants, their needs, and their wishes. So we are based in Morristown, New Jersey, but we have clients in over 40 states.
Awesome. As for me, I am based out of Philadelphia, though I actually grew up in Toms River, New Jersey, so not far from where you are right now. So I'm based out of Philadelphia. I am the owner and financial planner of Be Intentional Financial, also an independent RIA, but much smaller. It's just me and an assistant. I have always run my business entirely virtually because it just makes sense to me to keep overhead low and to keep transportation down. So I work with clients all across the United States as well. And I am offering more and more group educational courses all the time for younger folks just starting out with their financial lives. And you can find information about that and about me at beintentionalfinancial.com. So thank you for being here, Barbara, and for answering my questions and the audience questions. So honored to get to learn from you.
Likewise, River, it's been a pleasure. And thanks to the team at Power to Fly. You guys have been amazing to work with.
Yes, thank you for having us.